Hello. Thank you for joining us for MONITOUCH webinar. Today we are presenting the V9 series features relevant to Part 11. Here is the table of contents. This presentation consists of three main sections. The first one is the overview of Part 11. The second one is the review of MONITOUCH's basic functions. The third one is the V9 series functions relevant to Part 11. Okay, let's begin with the overview of Part 11. What is Part 11? Part 11 is the common name for FDA 21 CFR Part 11. Put simply, Part 11 sets out how a company can use electronic quality records and digital signatures in place of paper-based documentation and traditional handwritten signatures in such a way that complies with FDA regulations. FDA stands for Food and Drug Administration. 21 CFR means the Code of Federal Regulations Title 21. The guidelines of electronic records and electronic signatures are described in Part 11. Let's move on to the next slide. Industries and requirements for Part 11. If you are applying for permission to sell a new product in the U.S. food and pharmaceutical industries, you must submit records of its development and manufacture to the FDA. The purpose of 21 CFR Part 11 is to prevent the falsification of electronic records and electronic signatures in order to allow these applications to be submitted in electronic form. The required functions that are related to MONITOUCH are: electronic signature, prevention of data falsification, audit trail management, and security. Let us give you some brief overview of Part 11 again. Traditionally, the U.S. food and pharmaceutical industries maintained paper documentation and handwritten signatures for the new product applications or for national inspections and audits. But by operating in accordance with the regulations of Part 11, applications can now be made by electronic records and electronic signatures. A key objective of the regulation was ultimately to allow manufacturers to shift to virtualized systems rather than maintaining paper-based filing systems. The functions required for MONITOUCH are: 1. Electronic signature. It's supported by the combination of expanded data sheet printing function and the handwriting feature in the memo pad function. 2. Prevention of data falsification. Logging data and alarm histories are saved as a binary file. 3. Audit trail. Operation logs are saved as a DB file. 4. Security. Component parts for the advanced security features are available. This section explains the basic functions that are integrated to build a MONITOUCH screen that is compliant with Part 11. Printing Function 1. There are two main functions for printing from MONITOUCH to the printer. Hard copy printing. Hard copy printing function will allow you to output the screen images that are displayed on the MONITOUCH unit to the printer. It is possible to print the status of lamps and graphs, but the print size does not fit the A4 format. Also, you have to display the appropriate screen on the MONITOUCH unit when printing. Data sheet printing. With the data sheet printing function, contents to be printed are registered in data sheet setting in VSFT in advance. And by executing a print command, the data sheet will be printed out. But please note that the items that you can use at data sheet setting are limited to straight lines, rectangles, fixed text strings, and numerical data. Printing Function 2. MONITOUCH V9 series provides the following functions in addition to the standard data sheet printing function. The first one is extended data sheet function. By enabling extended data sheet function, additional items such as lamps and graphs can be used for the data sheet registration. The second one is the PDF output function. By checking the box of the PDF output function in VSFT, you can easily output printed images to an external media such as SD card or USB thumb drive as PDF files. Instead of printing out paper copies, the data can be stored electronically. Memo pad function. There are several types of touch switches for HMI. The traditional type is the matrix type, which consists of a row of small, grid-like switches. And in recent years, analog resistive and capacitive touch switches have been widely used. These can recognize the switches in dots, not in a grid. Since you can recognize each dot, you can display the part you traced with your finger as a character. That's how the memo pad function works. Historical data saving. It's about the file format when MONITOUCH saves logging data. There are three functions that output log files from MONITOUCH. The first one is the logging server function, which saves logging data. The second one is the alarm server function, which saves the error histories by periodically monitoring the PLC's error bits. The third one is the operation log function, which saves the operation of on-screen switches or numerical input in chronological order. In combination with security authentication, you can see the history of who, what, when, and how the operation was performed. By saving these log data in binary or DB files, the data is not visible at a glance even if it is opened on a PC. This can be proposed as a measure to prevent data tampering. Security functions. Managing login by user ID and password is possible through VSFT software or the local menu of V9 unit. The security level is available from 0 to 15 for each user ID. Depending on the login user, you can define a show and hide of items, interlock conditions, or restriction of switching screens. Now let's move on to the V9 series functions which are relevant to Part 11. First is about PDF output and electronic signature function. By outputting the extended data sheet in a PDF file, as we explained before, the electronic report can be saved in the storage device. It is possible to output the PDF file for each date and also to insert a new page to the specified file. This insert option is the industry's first function. Regarding the electronics signature, the administrator can sign on the V9 and save it in PDF file by combining the memo pad function and the extended data sheet. This is also the industry's first function. This is under development, but it will be supported within this year. For the purpose of prevention of data falsification, logging data and alarm history can be saved in the binary file format. To convert the binary file to a CSV file, a dedicated tool is required. For the management of audit trails, we have operation log function. It is linked to security function, so the history of who, when, what, and how the operation was performed can be saved as a DB file. This DB file also prevents data falsification. You can convert the DB file to a CSV file by a dedicated tool. As for security function, we prepared the component parts in order to comply with the requirements of Part 11. The password policy of this component parts is 8 to 16 characters in length. Case sensitive. Combination of uppercase letters, lowercase letters, and numbers. Password expiration setting is available. For example, if you set 30 days for expiration date, the user can log in by the password for 30 days after the registration. Then you will get the warning 7 days before the expiry date. After 30 days passed, the user will not be able to log in until he or she changes the password. Next function of the component parts is auto logout. Even if an operator who has higher security level leaves the machine without logging out, the screen is logged out and switched to the specified screen automatically after the set time passes. There is an option which is useful for the prevention of unauthorized login. It is possible to set the number of password mistakes. If someone enters the wrong password more than the set number, the user becomes disabled. Only the administrator can re-enable the disabled user. The setting of this security component part with VSFT6 is very simple. You just need to go through the security setting on VSFT6, and replace the default parts by this component parts. This table shows the specification of the component parts. Up to 50 users can be registered at the moment, and we are planning to expand to 100. There is a restriction on the use of passwords. The last 10 passwords per user cannot be used. The max setting range of password expiration date, password errors, and auto logout function are quite large, so you can set freely. It is also possible to keep and display the login user history and unauthorized access history. We are going to finish the presentation. But lastly, the important point is that the customer will need to build and operate a suitable system in order for the system to comply with Part 11. Our mission is to support the customer to build up the system by implementing the HMI features that we just explained. Thank you so much for your interest and attention.